Have you ever wondered where true peace and happiness can be found in your later years? As we age, whether to live with our children or maintain our independence becomes more pressing. In this video, we'll explore heartwarming stories that challenge traditional expectations and offer fresh perspectives on how to live a fulfilled life in old age. You'll discover inspiring insights that may change the way you think about your golden years. Stay with us until the end to uncover the path that might just be the key to your peace and happiness. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. The stories that follow are rich with insights, offering new perspectives that reach deep into the heart and soul. They inspire us to ponder the true essence of living a meaningful and fulfilled life in our later years. These narratives encourage us to listen carefully, feel deeply, and explore our paths to discovering authentic peace and happiness as we age. The first story, titled Living with Your Children, centers on a common dream many parents hold: spending their later years under the same roof as their children. My parents, who raised 2 sons, always envisioned this for themselves. They believed that one day, as they grew older, they would live with one of us, sharing in the comfort and support of family. My younger brother, perhaps more sensitive to their desires, even took this vision to heart when choosing a life partner. He sought a wife who would not only be a loving companion but also someone who could seamlessly integrate into our family dynamic, particularly with our parents. He believed that finding someone who could get along well with them would create a foundation for a harmonious and shared household. Over the years, I watched as my brother navigated several relationships, each time with our parents' opinions playing a significant role in the outcomes. They had high standards, often dismissing potential partners for reasons that may seem trivial to others, things like not adhering to traditional values or lacking the domestic skills they valued so much. Eventually, at the age of 32, my brother found a woman who seemed to tick all the boxes. She met all of our parents' expectations, and there was a collective sigh of relief when they married. The initial months were filled with hope and positivity, with everyone believing that their life together would be filled with peace and mutual respect. However, this hope was short-lived. As the honeymoon phase faded, the reality of their generational differences began to surface. My parents, who cherished the idea of daily family meals, found it increasingly difficult to adjust to my brother and his wife's modern lifestyle. Both my brother and sister-in-law had demanding careers and an active social life, which often made it challenging for them to adhere to the family traditions my parents held dear. This disparity in expectations began to brew resentment, particularly from my parents, who felt their values were being disregarded and that they were being sidelined in their own homes. The situation reached a breaking point when my sister-in-law gave birth to their first child. What should have been a time of joy and bonding quickly turned into a source of tension. My mother, who had always relied on traditional child-rearing practices, found herself at odds with my sister-in-law, who preferred modern, science-based approaches to childcare. This clash of ideologies created a rift between them, with my mother feeling her experience was being undermined, and my sister-in-law feeling pressured and judged. The once hopeful relationship between my parents and my brother's family became increasingly strained, with underlying conflicts simmering just below the surface, leading to an environment of constant tension and unspoken frustration. As the situation in my brother's household deteriorated, he found himself increasingly caught in the middle, struggling to mediate between the differing expectations and frustrations of his wife and his parents. The tensions and misunderstandings between them grew more pronounced, eventually boiling over into frequent arguments. This ongoing strife reached a point where my brother and his wife decided that the only viable solution was to move out and establish their separate household. This situation, while difficult, is not uncommon. Living together with extended family can sometimes lead to significant misunderstandings and conflicts, particularly when generational differences and varying lifestyles come into play. Conversely, there are families where multi-generational living fosters a strong sense of joy and support. Take Mr. Q's family, for example. Mr. Q and his wife live with their 18 children and grandchildren, creating a vibrant, close-knit community. Despite having separate kitchens to accommodate everyone's diverse cooking needs, the family makes it a point to come together every evening for communal meals. These dinners are more than just opportunities to share food, they are moments for deepening relationships and enjoying each other's company. Even those family members who live elsewhere consider Mr. Q's home a sanctuary, a place where they can find solace and recharge after long, demanding workdays. In addition to daily meals, Mr. Q's family holds weekly gatherings to further strengthen their bonds and share their lives. Mr. Q himself finds immense satisfaction in these interactions, believing that the greatest reward of living with his children and grandchildren is the peace of mind he derives from witnessing their happiness and being able to offer them daily guidance and support. For many elderly parents, the desire to live with their children is driven by the need for emotional closeness and the comfort of familial life, especially as health declines and social circles diminish with age. The fear of loneliness in old age is a very real concern. However, it is important to recognize that if the children are not genuinely caring, or if there is a lack of emotional connection, simply being nearby may not necessarily enhance the relationship. Some elderly individuals prefer to live nearby, rather than within the same household, which allows them to retain a degree of independence while remaining close enough for regular visits and support. This arrangement can help mitigate intergenerational conflicts while still providing the necessary support and connection that both parents and children need. Ultimately, the decision of where to live in one's later years is deeply personal and should be guided by what brings the most peace and happiness to each individual, considering both their personal preferences and the dynamics of their family relationships. Finding solace in their independence, Mr. V and Mrs. N have chosen a unique path in their family life. Though they are the proud parents of 2 sons, they made the unconventional decision not to live with either of them, despite both sons residing and working in the bustling city of Hanoi. When their sons reached the age of marriage, Mr. V and Mrs. N gently nudged them toward establishing their separate households. Mrs. N, who had once been a daughter-in-law herself, deeply understood the complexities and potential strains of cohabiting with in-laws. This personal experience profoundly influenced their belief that once a son marries, he should have his residence to foster a harmonious family dynamic. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 3 years ago, when their younger son got married but had yet to accumulate sufficient funds to purchase his own home, he requested to temporarily stay with his parents. Mrs. N agreed, but set a clear condition: they could stay for a maximum of 3 months. If they had not secured a house by that time, they needed to seek alternative rental options. It's not about being unkind, Mrs. N explained. It's about planning for their future. Different generations have different ways of living, and prolonged cohabitation can lead to inevitable conflicts. Currently, their elder son lives about 10 kilometers away, which is conveniently close to his daily commute. Meanwhile, the younger son has successfully purchased an apartment right next to his parents' home. This arrangement allows the entire family to come together every weekend at Mr. V and Mrs. N's house, where they enjoy shared meals, laughter, and quality time. When asked about their plans, particularly if they might consider moving in with their children as they age, Mrs. N confidently responded, "We plan to sell this 4-story house and use half of the proceeds to buy a smaller, more manageable apartment. The remainder will be invested in our retirement. Should we become too frail, we will either hire help or explore senior living communities. But we are committed to not being a burden on our children." Similarly, Mrs. L has embraced her independence, living apart from her 2 adult sons who are both married. Her sons frequently encourage her to move in with them, leaving behind the spacious family home she now inhabits alone. Despite their suggestions, Mrs. L remains resolute. Residing in the tranquil countryside, she finds joy in her social circle and the freedom her environment provides. In the city, it's just doors opening and closing day after day with little meaningful interaction, she says. "Here I have a community of friends, and I cherish the freedom and connection I have in my current life." When she visits her sons in the bustling city, she becomes increasingly aware of the monotonous routine that defines their lives. Each morning they depart for work with barely a moment for conversation, only to return late at night, exhausted and preoccupied. Their evenings are spent immersed in their computers or phones, leaving little room for genuine interaction. The only exchanges she has with them are brief and functional quick greetings as they come and go. The city's relentless pace and the pervasive sense of unease around strangers are alien to her, contrasting sharply with the tranquility she cherishes in her village home. "I'll let them live their lives as they see fit," she reflects. "While I continue to embrace the simplicity of village life," she acknowledges that should she fall ill, she won't expect her sons to provide constant care. Instead, she plans to hire a caregiver to assist her as needed. "My sons can visit occasionally," she says, "and that will be enough." This acceptance of a more detached, yet harmonious relationship with her children underscores a growing trend among seniors today. The traditional multi-generational family model is gradually becoming a relic of the past. Increasingly, older adults are opting to take control of their own lives during their later years, preferring independence over traditional family cohabitation. These individuals often make the conscious decision to live separately from their children once the latter start their own families. Instead of relying on their children for day-to-day care, they choose to live independently or nearby but not under the same roof. They are prepared for old age by planning, ensuring that they can maintain their autonomy while still providing support when necessary. This choice allows them to continue enjoying their lives, whether that means traveling, socializing, or residing in senior living communities that best suit their needs. They believe this approach fosters a more fulfilling and balanced life for all involved. In the third story, embracing senior living in a nursing home, Mrs. M made a courageous decision following the death of her husband. She chose to sell her home and use her pension to move into a private nursing home. Her children were taken aback by this decision, viewing it as unconventional and even stigmatizing. They were concerned that her choice might reflect poorly on them, suggesting a failure on their part to provide adequate care for their mother. Mrs. M, however, calmly articulated her reasons to her children. She recognized that her lifestyle had diverged significantly from the busy, modern lives of her children and grandchildren. Living together, she reasoned, would likely lead to inconvenience and discomfort for both parties. She would spend long, lonely hours in an empty house while her children were away at work, and there were no peers her age within their urban apartment complex to offer companionship. By moving to a nursing home, she ensured that she could enjoy a supportive and engaging environment that better matched her needs and preferences, all while maintaining her independence and dignity. In the nursing home, Mrs. M found a new chapter of life filled with joy and comfort. She enjoyed the companionship of peers who shared her age and life experiences. The convenience of having her meals prepared for her alleviated any daily burdens, and her children were welcome to visit her at their convenience. This arrangement allowed Mrs. M and her children to experience a harmonious balance. Her children initially felt a pang of guilt over her choice to move to the nursing home. However, their concerns gradually dissipated as they witnessed the positive transformation in her well-being. Mrs. M's happiness and health flourished in her new environment, and during holidays, she would spend several weeks with her family before returning to the nursing home, maintaining strong family bonds and enjoying quality time with her loved ones. Whenever Mrs. M visited friends who were still living with their children, she shared her positive experiences and often encouraged them to consider similar arrangements. Her first-hand account of the benefits and happiness she found in the nursing home served as a beacon of hope for others contemplating the same path. Similarly, Mr. V, at the age of 70, faced a crossroads when he had to decide between moving to the city with his son or staying in his rural home. After his wife passed away, Mr. V initially planned to live out his days alone in his familiar surroundings. However, his children, concerned about his well-being, persuaded him to relocate to the city. Although he agreed to their wishes, Mr. V found himself feeling trapped in a gilded cage. His days were monotonous, spent mostly in front of the television with little social interaction or freedom to live as he pleased. Mr. V, who struggled with Parkinson's disease, came across a television program about nursing homes one day and became intrigued by the prospect. He began researching nursing homes online and saw an opportunity to find the care and social interaction he longed for. After discussing his thoughts with his children, he requested to try living in a nursing home for a few months. Although his children were initially hesitant, they eventually consented to his trial period. To everyone's surprise, Mr. V's health and spirits significantly improved in the nursing home. Surrounded by others and receiving daily, attentive care, he began to thrive. Recognizing the positive changes in his life, Mr. V decided to make the nursing home his permanent residence, using his military pension to cover the costs. His children were relieved and pleased to see him happy and well cared for. The burden of daily chores and managing his care was lifted from their shoulders, allowing them to enjoy quality visits and engaging outings with him and their own families. Like Mrs. M, Mr. V became an advocate for this lifestyle, sharing his story with peers and helping to challenge and reshape existing stereotypes about nursing home living. These stories illustrate a growing trend among older adults who are choosing to embrace independent living, challenging the traditional expectation of relying on their children. While multi-generational living offers certain benefits, it is not the sole path to achieving peace and happiness in one's later years. Through these narratives, we see that by taking charge of their own lives and making decisions based on their personal needs and desires, seniors are discovering new avenues for joy, companionship, and fulfillment. Whether opting for independent living, settling in nearby homes, or choosing to be part of a senior living community, the key is finding the arrangement that brings the most peace and satisfaction. Each story highlights a different approach to achieving a fulfilling life, demonstrating that there are various ways to navigate the aging process while maintaining personal dignity and family values. Which of these stories resonates with you the most? Can you see yourself in any of these situations? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's engage in a meaningful dialogue and explore what it truly means to live a fulfilling life in our later years. Remember, aging is not the end, but rather the beginning of a new chapter filled with potential and purpose. Embrace this phase of life to savor every moment and find true contentment and joy. Take charge of your journey and create a senior life that is memorable, enriching, and uniquely your own. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Part 2: If your spouse passes away. Firstly, one of the wisest approaches to navigating life after the loss of a spouse is to understand and recognize 3 crucial things to avoid. Have you ever paused to consider how you would manage if you were faced with the unimaginable loss of your partner? Life is inherently unpredictable, and the death of a loved one can leave an immense void, making you feel as though you are adrift without purpose. However, what if some strategies and insights could not only help you endure but flourish following such a profound loss? In this segment, we will explore the poignant and uplifting stories of 3 individuals who have faced this harrowing journey and emerged stronger. They have generously shared the most significant lessons they've learned through their experiences, offering valuable guidance for finding hope, cultivating independence, and rediscovering happiness, even after enduring the deepest sorrow. Life's unpredictability means that we can never truly know how much time we will have with those we cherish. Miyazaki wisely observed, "Life is like a train, and everyone can only accompany you for part of the journey. When they have to disembark, you should be grateful for the wonderful moments they shared with you. If someone stays with you for the entire journey, you should be even more thankful." Having a partner, whether in the prime of youth or the twilight of old age, is undoubtedly a blessing. Yet, not all relationships are destined to last until the end of life. Some partners may leave this world prematurely due to illness, accidents, or other unforeseen circumstances. When your spouse is no longer present, the home can feel eerily empty, as though life has lost its foundation. Despite the profound sadness and grief that accompanies such a loss, the reality remains that time continues to move forward, and the departed cannot be resurrected. In the face of your spouse's death, it is essential to focus on healing and living your life with intention. To help you navigate this challenging period, 3 experienced individuals share their narratives, offering insights to middle-aged and elderly individuals. They emphasize that if your spouse passes away before you, there are 3 critical things you must refuse to do to ensure a dignified and fulfilling life in your later years. By heeding their advice, you can create a future that is both comfortable and enriching, despite the heartache of loss. Grieving for an extended period can be overwhelming, especially when you lose someone who has been a constant presence in your life. Imagine the profound emptiness that comes with the death of a beloved partner who has been by your side for decades. The void left behind can feel insurmountable, and while memories of the past may offer some comfort, they can also intensify the pain of loss. This is the story of Callista, a woman whose journey from heartbreak to resilience exemplifies the strength of the human spirit. At 67, Callista faced the devastating loss of her husband, a man who had been her closest companion through much of her life. Confronted with this unimaginable grief, Callista found herself at a critical juncture. The question she grappled with was profound: how does one move forward when the person they cherished most is no longer there? The challenge of navigating through such a profound loss can feel like an insurmountable barrier, leaving one with a sense of despair and questioning the very essence of their existence. Callista's story is not just a tale of grief, but also one of rediscovery and renewal. It reflects a remarkable transformation from a state of deep sorrow to finding a new sense of purpose and meaning in life. Her journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and its capacity to adapt and find hope, even in the most challenging times. As we delve into her touching narrative, we see that Callista's path to healing was not easy. She recalls, "When I was 64, my husband passed away. The memory of his passing is still incredibly difficult to accept. During those days, I felt like a walking corpse, overwhelmed by the sense that life had lost its meaning. Many times, I thought I might as well join him. I often cried myself to sleep, especially during those long, sleepless nights. The sight of our wide double bed, now empty except for me, was a constant reminder of my loss. Yet, whenever I looked at our old photos, where we were both smiling and happy, I found a glimmer of hope. I realized that my husband wouldn't want me to live in sorrow. While my tears couldn't bring him back, I could honor his memory by living well. I resolved to persist a little longer, to live in a way that would allow him to rest peacefully in another world." Through this process, Callista came to understand a crucial truth: while the separation of life and death is undeniably heart-wrenching, the living must continue. No matter how cherished the past or how sweet the memories are, one cannot remain anchored in the past and ignore the present beauty and future possibilities. Learning to look forward and embrace life once more is not only a personal responsibility, but also a way to honor the memory of a loved one and help them find peace. In the aftermath of losing a spouse, it is vital to remain calm, comfort oneself, and take care of one's health. Grief, though natural, should not consume you entirely. It's important to gradually adjust your mindset, rebuild confidence, and strive to lead a fulfilling and self-sufficient life. Embrace small joys: eat when you're hungry, sleep when you can, take walks in the park, and explore your surroundings. These acts of self-care are essential in finding solace and moving forward, helping you to navigate through the grief and emerge with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. Do not depend on others for your emotional well-being. Instead, cultivate an appreciation for solitude with grace and insight. Embrace the quiet moments of your life like savoring a fine, aged wine. Each sip is a reminder of the richness of your inner world. By nurturing your spiritual self and learning to relish your own company, you will find that loneliness can transform into a period of profound personal growth and contentment. When you feel isolated, it's important to reach out to friends and engage in meaningful conversations, finding delight even in solitary times. This approach ensures that, even in the later years of life, you can experience joy and fulfillment. Facing the loss of a lifelong partner stands as one of the most formidable challenges anyone can endure. Callista's story serves as a poignant example of why this topic merits deep reflection and understanding. Her journey reveals that grief transcends age, background, and cultural boundaries. It underscores that experiencing profound sorrow and loneliness following the death of a loved one is a universal and shared experience. Recognizing this can help individuals feel less isolated in their grief, as they realize that others have navigated similar heart-axes. Callista's transition from deep despair to discovering a renewed sense of purpose highlights the power of resilience. Life often presents us with unforeseen and painful changes, yet her story demonstrates that it is possible to rebuild and find meaning even after a significant loss. This narrative is essential because it offers a beacon of hope to those currently grappling with grief. It reassures them that although the pain may never completely fade, there is a pathway forward that includes joy and personal fulfillment. Furthermore, Callista's experience emphasizes the crucial role of self-care and mental health during intense periods of grief. It's easy to neglect one's well-being when overwhelmed by sorrow. Callista's choice to prioritize her health, find pleasure in small, everyday joys, and seek support from friends exemplify practical measures that can aid others in similar situations. Her story encourages individuals to tend to their own needs, actively seek support, and not shy away from re-engaging with life. In addition, Callista's narrative sheds light on the significance of memories and their impact on the healing process. By looking through old photographs and reminiscing about happy moments with her husband, Callista found solace. Cherishing positive memories can be a potent coping mechanism, allowing individuals to honor their loved ones while continuing to advance in their own lives. Lastly, Callista's journey illustrates the importance of living in the present and looking forward to the future. While it's natural to grieve and reflect on the past, it is equally important to seek out new sources of joy and purpose. This balance is crucial for leading a fulfilling life, even after experiencing significant loss. In summary, Callista's story serves as a compelling testament to the strength of the human spirit. It teaches us about the necessity of self-care, the healing power of preserving memories, and the importance of finding an equilibrium between honoring the past and embracing future opportunities. Her journey offers valuable hope and practical guidance for anyone navigating the challenging grieving process. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Have you ever pondered the complexities of elderly parents living with their grown children? Does this arrangement bring comfort and joy, or does it unveil unforeseen challenges and emotional struggles? In this narrative, Mrs. Amber, a 65-year-old widow, offers a candid and moving account of her experience living with her daughter before ultimately choosing to live independently once more. Her journey imparts a profound lesson about the quest for personal independence and the pursuit of genuine contentment in one's later years. Join us as we delve into Mrs. Amber's story and uncover why sometimes the most fulfilling companionship might come from being alone. Mrs. Amber, now 65 and a widow, reflects on her journey after my husband passed away. I spent several years living with my daughter and her family, and eventually I chose to live alone again. Initially, I had a strong belief that the mutual support between parents and children was a natural and expected part of life. I had raised my daughter with love and care, and I envisioned that she would be there to support me in my old age. However, what I experienced over time was not the comfort and support I had anticipated, but rather a growing sense of dissatisfaction and eventual estrangement. My husband and I were both retired, and I never imagined facing life alone. I had always expected that we would grow old together, but fate had other plans. A sudden illness took my husband away, leaving me to navigate the world by myself. At that time, my daughter had just welcomed a newborn son into the world, and my son-in-law generously invited me to move in with them, suggesting that I should enjoy my retirement there. I was deeply grateful for their kindness and support. With the arrival of my grandson, whom I saw as a new beacon of joy, I poured my heart and soul into helping out at their home, cherishing the opportunity to be a part of their lives. Initially, my daughter and son-in-law provided me with a monthly allowance for living expenses, but eventually this support dwindled as they relied on my pension instead. As my grandson grew, the financial strain on their family increased, and my pension was insufficient to cover their needs. Despite bringing this issue up with my daughter multiple times, her responses became increasingly impatient and dismissive. Occasionally she would give me some money, but it often felt like a token gesture rather than genuine assistance. The nature of our cohabitation led to frequent disagreements, and I found myself critical of my daughter's spending habits, particularly her tendency to shop online impulsively without considering future financial needs. When it came to my grandson's upbringing, my daughter and son-in-law favored a more laissez-faire approach, while I firmly believed in the importance of early discipline. This difference in parenting philosophies created a widening gap between us. Over time, their communication with me grew more curt and less respectful. Reflecting on my years spent under their roof, I decided to return to living independently. When I proposed moving out, they expressed that they would miss me, but their relief was palpable. It became clear that my presence, once a necessity, had become a burden. They had needed my help during the early years of my grandson's life, but now they felt equipped to manage on their own. Mrs. Amber's experience underscores the complexity of family dynamics and the evolving nature of relationships as circumstances change. Her story serves as a poignant reminder that sometimes the most fulfilling path to happiness in one's later years may be found in embracing independence and self-reliance. When Mrs. Amber returned home after the loss of her husband, she initially grappled with feelings of loneliness and idleness. Her once busy life had become quiet and simple, and she found herself adrift without the emotional support she had grown accustomed to. However, over time, Mrs. Amber embraced her solitude, rediscovered passions from her past, and found new avenues for fulfillment. She enrolled in calligraphy and painting classes, joined community groups, and forged friendships with like-minded individuals. Through these pursuits, she transformed her days into a tapestry of meaningful activities and connections. What once seemed like an overwhelming void became a vibrant, satisfying retirement that she had longed for. Mrs. Amber's journey serves as a powerful reminder of the value of independence and self-reliance, particularly in our later years. As life expectancy continues to rise, many find themselves confronting the reality of living alone after the passing of a spouse. While it might seem ideal to live with grown children, this arrangement often comes with unforeseen challenges. Generational conflicts. One of the key issues highlighted by Mrs. Amber's experience is the potential for conflicts that arise from generational differences. Living with children can lead to disagreements on various matters, including financial decisions, parenting styles, and daily routines. Mrs. Amber's story illustrates how these differences can create tension and stress within the household. This is not unique to any specific culture, but is a common issue faced worldwide. In the United States, similar challenges arise as families navigate the balance between maintaining independence and providing familial support. Emotional strain. Another significant concern is the emotional burden of feeling like a liability. Mrs. Amber's sense of being unappreciated and even resented after years of dedicating herself to her daughter's family is a poignant example of this struggle. The emotional strain of feeling like a burden can lead to feelings of worthlessness and depression among elderly parents. In American culture, where independence is highly prized, the idea of being a burden can be especially difficult to endure. Personal fulfillment. Finding personal fulfillment is crucial for a happy and healthy retirement. Mrs. Amber's story underscores the importance of pursuing personal interests and staying engaged with the world around us. By rediscovering her hobbies and building new social connections, she found a renewed sense of joy and purpose. This highlights a broader truth applicable to many seniors. Staying socially active and involved in community activities can significantly enhance one's quality of life. In the U.S., community centers, clubs, and volunteer work provide seniors with opportunities to stay connected and find meaning in their lives. Are you contemplating finding a new partner or remarrying later in life? Before making any decisions, consider Mrs. Kelly's story. At 62, she embarked on a new relationship after the passing of her first husband, only to encounter unforeseen challenges and heartbreak. Her journey serves as a valuable cautionary tale for anyone considering remarriage in their senior years. Join us as we delve into Mrs. Kelly's experiences and uncover the potential risks and realities of elderly remarriage. Our insights might provide important lessons to help you avoid future regrets. Mrs. Kelly, who is now 62, reflects on her two marriages with a mix of pain and regret. Her first husband passed away when she was 53, leaving her in profound grief. At 56, she decided to remarry, hoping for companionship and a new beginning. Unfortunately, her second marriage ended in divorce within a year, leaving her with lingering feelings of sorrow and frustration. She shares her story to offer a cautionary perspective to others considering a similar path. After retiring at 50, I had envisioned spending my golden years traveling with my husband. Unfortunately, he passed away before retirement, which left me devastated. For a long time, I was enveloped in grief. My son, concerned about my well-being, suggested that I move in with him. But I was reluctant to impose on him and his family. Instead, he proposed that I join a senior travel group to lift my spirits. To avoid being a burden, I opted to enroll in a dance and poetry recitation class on my own. It was there that I met my second husband, Mr. G. At first, Mr. G and I were just acquaintances. One day, I injured my ankle on the stairs, and Mr. G came to my aid, helping me to the hospital and caring for me during my recovery. Although I couldn't attend class, he visited daily to check on me. Over time, our relationship grew closer. 2 months later, Mr. G proposed, expressing his desire to live together for mutual support. I was thrilled, but wanted to discuss it with my son before making any decisions. My son was open to the idea, but recommended meeting Mr. G's family to better understand them. Mr. G agreed to this suggestion. That evening, we had dinner with both families. Afterward, my son advised me to take more time to observe Mr. G's character before rushing into marriage, but I was eager to move forward and believed Mr. G was a good match. A few days later, we registered our marriage and I moved into his home. Initially, everything seemed to be going well. Although I took on all the housework, I didn't mind, as I was used to it from my previous marriage. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. However, tensions began to surface when I agreed to travel with 3 old friends. Mr. G expressed his displeasure, claiming that no one would handle the housework while I was away. I felt this was unfair should I be seen merely as someone hired to do housework. This conflict highlighted underlying issues in our relationship that I hadn't anticipated. And it soon became clear that the dynamics of our marriage were more complex than I had initially realized. Mrs. Kelly's experience underscores the importance of careful consideration and clear communication when entering a new relationship later in life. It's essential to evaluate not just the emotional connection but also the practical aspects and potential challenges that may arise. Her story serves as a reminder to approach remarriage with a thoughtful perspective, ensuring that both partners' expectations and responsibilities are clearly understood and agreed upon to avoid future disappointments. That day, our argument reached a boiling point. His words were harsh and cutting, suggesting that I was only valuable if I managed the housework. For the first time, I found myself questioning our marriage. The situation deteriorated further after our trip. Mr. G's son went through a divorce, leaving us with a young grandson. Initially, I made every effort to care for the child with kindness and patience. However, Mr. G began to act as though the child was my sole responsibility and any misstep was blamed on me. Our constant bickering led me to reassess our relationship. After 6 months of escalating tension, I proposed a divorce. Mr. G agreed, acknowledging our incompatibility. Thus, we ended our marriage. Reflecting on this experience, I realized that my initial enthusiasm led to a rushed decision to remarry. It became clear that no new relationship could ever replace the profound love I had in my first marriage. My late husband was a man of integrity and diligence, qualities that were starkly absent in my second husband. I still find myself mourning my late husband, and I often weep at the thought of him. I deeply regret not heeding my son's advice. Thankfully, my son welcomed me back with understanding and comfort. Moving forward, I have resolved never to consider remarriage again. Mrs. Kelly's story serves as a poignant reminder of the intricate nature of remarriage in later years. While the prospect of companionship in one's later years can be enticing, it is crucial to approach it with careful consideration and awareness of potential pitfalls. Her experience underscores several important lessons particularly relevant in American society, where individual autonomy and the pursuit of personal happiness are highly esteemed. Firstly, the importance of deeply understanding a potential partner before entering into a new marriage cannot be emphasized enough. Mrs. Kelly's experience illustrates how initial impressions can be deceptive and how essential it is to invest time in truly getting to know someone's character and intentions. This is especially pertinent in the US, where second marriages among older adults are not uncommon. But such relationships come with their own set of challenges which younger couples may not encounter. Secondly, Mrs. Kelly's story highlights the necessity of clear communication and setting realistic expectations in a new relationship. The conflicts she encountered over household responsibilities and family matters might have been alleviated with better discussion and understanding up front. This aligns with the American value of open and honest communication as a cornerstone for building successful relationships. Ensuring that both partners are on the same page about their roles and responsibilities can prevent misunderstandings and foster a more harmonious relationship. In summary, Mrs. Kelly's journey through remarriage underscores the importance of careful consideration and communication. Her story serves as a valuable lesson for others contemplating a similar path, offering insights into the realities of late-life relationships and the need for thorough understanding and open dialogue. Lastly, Mrs. Amber's experience serves as a poignant cautionary tale about the emotional complexities and potential pitfalls of remarrying later in life. The pain and regret she encountered following her second marriage highlight the critical importance of careful deliberation and avoiding hasty decisions driven solely by loneliness or a mere desire for companionship. In a society like the US, where the pursuit of happiness is considered a fundamental right, Mrs. Amber's story is a compelling reminder that true fulfillment in one's later years may often come from embracing self-reliance and independence rather than seeking solace in a new marriage. In conclusion, while the prospect of elderly remarriage can indeed offer companionship and emotional support, it is essential to approach such a significant step with caution and a well-considered understanding of the potential challenges involved. Mrs. Amber's journey provides valuable insights for those contemplating this path, emphasizing the importance of deeply knowing oneself, understanding one's needs, and carefully evaluating a potential partner before entering into a new relationship. Her story underscores that finding genuine happiness in later life often requires more than just a new partnership. It requires a thoughtful and informed approach to personal contentment and well-being. Thank you for joining us today and exploring these insightful stories with us. From the joys and challenges of multi-generational living to the personal decisions surrounding senior living arrangements, these narratives offer profound reflections on finding fulfillment and peace in later years. As we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from these stories? Is there one particular insight or lesson that resonates with you and that you plan to apply in your own life? Share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support means the world to us, and we look forward to bringing you more inspiring content in the future. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care and stay inspired.